Hi, everyone, and welcome to tourismwebinars.com. And today is part 3 of a very special series of webinars to create a symposium called Women Facing Forward. And all of this is especially because of tomorrow, March 8th, being International Women's Day. So there have been 2 webinars before this one. And we've been celebrating the accomplishments and looking at the challenges and achievements of women all over the world, from Southeast Asia to Africa. And this particular webinar, we have many women from the Western world, from Italy, UK, North and South America. So welcome everybody who's watching on tourismwebinars.com, as well as Facebook, on YouTube, anywhere you're watching. You don't have to be on the Zoom call, just tune in right here on any of the social media, and we're just so happy to have you here. Now, this is all underneath the umbrella of IIPT, which is the International Institute of Peace Through Tourism. And this particular webinar is about women for peace. Now, all of the speakers on this webinar, and there's one man, I have to say, some testosterone snuck in here, but all of the women here are leaders. They're dynamos in their field. Now, how I came to be involved in this is for many decades now, I hate to say, I have been exploring the world as a travel journalist. I have a TV series called Out of Town Adventures, and it's on basically all over the world in about 7 different languages, but mostly on Amazon Prime in English-speaking countries. And over the years, I have discovered so much. You know, I've discovered that you cannot have peace without tourism. You cannot have tourism without peace. And I have tried to follow the credo of the peaceful traveler, which is this: grateful for the opportunity to travel and experience the world. And because peace begins with the individual, I affirm my personal responsibility and commitment to journey with an open mind and gentle heart, and accept with grace and gratitude the diversity I encounter. That has underscored my life, and I know it has underscored the lives of all of the people we're going to meet today. The first one I have met in person, and I'm telling you, she is a whirlwind dynamo. And the last time I saw her was in South Africa, and if someone could solve world peace, and in one person, it would be Nikki DePina. She is passionate. She's an ardent advocate for social justice and an activist in peace-building environment. Her love of profiling community leaders stems from her travels across Africa, and she's committed to transformation through the creation of platforms aimed at peace, justice, and strong institutions, nonviolence, and an end to conflict. With that, I would like to introduce you to Nikki DePina.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your projects and your outlook these days?
Okay, thank you, Pia. Shall I start?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay, good day, our esteemed guests and fellow participants of this very special International Symposium on Peace. I am really sincerely honored to stand before you today to share my insights on the importance of humanities in achieving peace, particularly from a female perspective. Humanities cannot exist without women, since they are our mothers, the mothers of everyone, everything valuable in each one of us. Each of us was born from a woman. She educated us, she loved us, she remained fully part of us. That is the beginning of peace that every woman, educated or not, strives for, and that is to share love. I'd like to very much share a beautiful poem to each of you from Yolanda Marie that just touched my heart, so I want to share that today. Woman with all the letters, mother, woman, sacrifice, no glories or benefits. You work from sunrise to sunset. How much tenderness and love is that? They have calloused hands, which rose petals reflections, its limits, with colors like flowers, seeing their faces of love, tilling the land daily and crying, sweet banish of the soul of woman, with iridescent beauty which lights on their foreheads. They sowed their presence with love. God bless the peasant woman, your soul, heart, and spirit, comfort and strength to sustain your momentum. In all of them, exercise relief, in all sacrifice. A woman does not need glitter clothes, sapphires, jewelry, much less showing her cleavage to the world. Feminine is all that lady who carries every wrinkle on her face with dignity and shows it off with love. Feminine is that lady who simply shares the passion, the love for a future. These women are the ladies who wear invisible crowns, and they are the queens of their homes and their own lives. To all of them, mothers, ladies, each of the 5 letters of that word woman fit perfectly in the best garment in its proper measure. God bless these women, and God bless each one of you today that have taken the time to come and share your story for peace. Global Peace Let's Talk, my organization, works under humanities. We support women greatly. Women have played a critical role in shaping history, culture, and society. Contributions from women have often been overlooked or underestimated, but without them, the world would be a very, very different place. Women's voices and experiences are very much essential in order to understand the human experience fully. As such, we must embrace the humanities and the critical role they play in promoting peace and gender equality. Humanities provide us with a framework for understanding the complexities of the world around us. By studying history and literature, we can learn about the experiences of women throughout time and how they have contributed to the evolution of our society. We can explore the achievements of female leaders who have fought so bravely for human rights. I'm very proud to share with you today that my organization has the most amazing, phenomenal women who give up so much to be able to reach out to those who need a voice and to those who need to profile their circumstances. We are in conflict across the world. It's horrifying. We cannot anymore sit back and say it's not our problem. Never, never must a woman say that word, it's not our problem. It is. We have to make a difference. And I'm so proud of the women in Global Peace Let's Talk. If I had to start naming them, I would end up leaving somebody out, but they know who they are. These are women who take it all on their own and go and deal with those that need a voice, somebody to hear them. One of the things I love the most also about the women is that they take art and they work with profiles in art to reach out to different cultures. We have like this amazing program which Marta will be sharing with you when it's her presentation, how art reaches out to children and children then learn the different cultures, and that supports an end to violence and conflict. Because when you understand and you take time with a different culture, everything can change. There's suddenly a light, and you are then not so critical because that culture is different from yours. You embrace it and you value that and you share that story with so much love. It's like lighting a fire. It's just so precious. So that is why I'm saying we have to be really, really wide awake today, so that we can achieve peace. We must be open-minded to all the different cultures and all the different crises that are happening in the world. And where a voice is needed, never stand back and say, it's not my problem. There are reasons sometimes to feel sad because, in a sense, when you look at what's going on around the world, we've lost a lot of our humanity. There are people that are so hungry for power that there's no issue when others that they are responsible for suffer. We cannot lose our human empathy. We have to stand up and fight more. So it was with great pride to all of you that are here today, that have added your voice to be able to share your experience today. You are the future leaders of the world. You are the people making a difference. And for that, I honor each one of you. For me, that I have a little saying about a sense of meaning. And my sense of meaning is that the most powerful thing is when a group of women with the same passion for peace come together. Because when they put their hearts and their minds together, they create so much life into a sense of meaning. It's something so special and so unique. So I pay deepest love and tribute to the women that are here today, to the women that are attending this event. May God bless each one of you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to have spent time with you. Thank you. Namaste.
Nikki DePina, thank you so much for sharing. You have influenced a lot of women, and I've noticed over the years that you support many women in their work towards peace and tourism. And is there anything we can do to help you as a group of women? Is there a website you can direct us to? Nikki?
Sorry, I didn't hear that, Bia.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that you've been very supportive of us, and we wonder how we could be supportive of you or find out more about your work, if you have a website that you could possibly direct us to.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my sound is a little bit of a problem, but if you're asking me how people can get in touch with us, then please connect with Global Peace Let Talk. We are all over the world. We've got members from just about Europe, Argentina, Mexico, Africa. We very strongly focus in Africa, where we deal with women. And maybe I'd like to share that in Africa, there are certain countries that are in such extreme conflict. And here you have women who will not give up, women, even although they're forced out of their countries and become refugees. And it's almost like there's no light, there's no hope, but they find that light within themselves and they find that hope. And they will gather their children and they will travel this journey to try and get to a safe place where their children can have a future. And those are the people that we support and we work with. And those are the heroes. These are the women that we need to look and say, with respect, with love, is there anything that I can do for you? And a lot of these women, if we can just teach them to read and write, do you know what a blessing that is? It is just only that. If you can give me a piece of paper and a pen and just teach me how to write my name so that I know that I can then go forward. And in turn, that my children will have a future, because then I can work, then I can do something. And these are the women that are just so inspiring, and they drive us forward. Even although you think there's nothing else you can do, it never ends, it just carries on. Thank you so much, Bia. And thank you, Rezi, for the opportunity to share with everyone today.
Thanks again, Nikki, for your beautiful words. I'd also like to mention that I've noticed that Dr. Talib Rifai has come on here, and Timothy Marshall, both men that are a heartbeat to IIPT and to the group that's here. So thank you for joining us. We always appreciate your support. It's always nice to be here.
We're very lucky to be with you. Also, Ajay is here, but he's not using the correct name. So,
Oh, okay. Hi. Great. Well, welcome everyone who's listening. Now, our next speaker is going to speak for a short while, as she's had a bit of an accident, and it's going to be amazing that she's here to speak to us at all. But Mansi Sharma is an international lawyer and mediator from India. She's a lawyer come international mediator, a member of the advisory board of the 3Cs Mediators, Nigeria, Senior Research Fellow, Punjab University, Faculty of Socio-Political Thought of Mahatma Gandhi, and Nonviolent Communication in different varieties or varsities in India. So let's welcome Mansi Sharma.
Thank you. My greetings to the esteemed panel of guests and my co-speakers. First of all, I would like to apologize because of a little accident which happened a few days back. I shall not be able to give as much time as I had promised. But then since I had committed to the event, so I didn't want to disappoint anyone. So here, since we are talking about women as peace builders, women as peace leaders, there are two forms of violence which we experience in our day-to-day lives. One is direct form of violence, which is in form of war, or maybe any kind of violent incident which happens anywhere around us. Then another form of violence, which of course Johan Galtung has already discussed, is the structural violence, which is embedded in our social structures, or maybe the political structures or economic structures, wherein the violence is done to the marginalized. And women for a good period of time have been marginalized. They are gaining the reins slowly and slowly, but the thing is that still we have to ensure that they are not deprived of these opportunities. When I talk about equality, no, I would not like to stress here that we are naturally peaceful. A man or a woman are, they are all product of their circumstances, and it is the upbringing and the circumstances which bring about a difference. So here I would like to talk about the role of women in countering direct violence as peace leaders, and also indirect violence. Largely when I talk about direct violence, see, it is equality is not just about we're not saying that men and women are equal in all terms. I am admitting to the biological differences which we have, and I'm not saying that any of these genders is lesser than the other, but we are different. But in terms of cerebral capabilities or emotional capabilities, we women and men are equal. So here point is not to say that we are equal in every aspect. We are different, but when it comes to using your intellect, using your emotions, we both are equal. Men and women are equal. So when it comes to countering violence, women have equal role as men, and they should not be sidelined from this purview, which has been done because largely the social role of women was considered to be managing the household, the children. I remember when I was pursuing literature, I had read about Jane Austen. She's my favorite author, and I was fascinated by the kind of girls, the description of women she had given in her novel, that they are very they're full of etiquettes, very elegant, very decent, disciplined women. So these kind of things have been imposed on women. You need not always look good, be pleasant. You see, this is something which is a social stereotype. So this should have been equally imposed on men as well, and then the world would have been a better place to live in. So here, the role of women as peace leaders, which I'm already working as a lawyer and international mediator, and mediation is all about transforming relationships, about handling conflicts in a peaceful manner. But this is not what I want to emphasize here. See, whether we talk about the UN conference on women in Beijing 1995, or the UN Security Council resolution 1325, all have been emphasizing that women can be peace leaders. They are already peace leaders. Let me tell you, even as homemakers, which largely a good number of women are in India, of course, the number is more. We do not need to create something different to build a peaceful world. Women have been giving birth to children, and as I've already emphasized that, you know, we need to nurture these children to to counter the structural violence which is embedded in our structures, whether social, political, or economic. We need to teach these children, whether men, whether a girl child or a boy, that you need to be loving, caring, and compassionate towards people, right? Peace is not something which comes from some outer planet to us through some endeavors. It is all, everything, zeroes down to an individual. So the individuals should be well brought up, and for this you need not, just go to the streets or just raise your voice on some important platforms. Something which you can do as a woman is that you nurture your child well, and these individuals will gradually change the world. See, the role of a mother has been emphasized everywhere in all civilizations, whether it be any religion as well. Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, everywhere, mother has been equated to God. Her blessings are equated to God. So this powerful creature as a mother can bring about a silent revolution by nurturing the minds of her children, by making them understand that it is humanity which is above everything. So for building a peaceful world, you need not become somebody who has a position, who is on a very very powerful, who is somebody heading a powerful organization. You just need to tell your children, you just need to bring about difference in the individuals you are bringing up, and then the world will change. And also, since the our host, a very beautiful host, had emphasized right in the beginning that tourism is, is, there's no other way to promote peace much more than tourism, because yes, it is through the interaction of people that we understand that the problems around the world are always same. And see, when children are born, each child, though maybe born of the same mother, has different, capacities, capabilities. And this is true with the mother nature as well. Air, water, temperature, these five elements which combine and form the universe are same, but wherever they combine, they form a difference. So tourism and women have a very innate connection. So here I would again emphasize that women as mothers should bring about the change first, and then, we would not need to emphasize that our role is important, because then our role as mothers would be as important as any other peace leader of the world. Thank you so much for the patient listening. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for participating despite your troubles. And I would like to find more about your individual mediations. We'll have to have another webinar someday and break those open so that we can understand more about the great work you're doing. So, and we will have everybody's information and contact details up on the website after this webinar. So thank you once again. And our next, have a great day. Our next speaker is a leader in the development of health tourism in Jamaica. She was instrumental in helping to establish Jamaica as a health and spa destination between 2005 and 2009 through working collaboratively with Jamaica's Minister of Tourism and its agencies. She's the co-founder and president for Pana-Carib Business Solutions, which is headquartered in Jamaica, and we'll let her tell you the rest of the work that she's involved with. But let's welcome Ms. Sharon Paris-Chambers.
Thank you. Greetings to everyone. And I'd like to just give special greetings to Dr. Lou Damore, President and Founder of International Peace through Tourism, Talib Rafai. I'm not sure of his exact title, but his affiliation with Tourism Webinar, and Dinah McIntyre Pike, our very own, based in Jamaica, the IIPT International Caribbean President, Riza Sultani, Tourism Founder of Tourism Webinar, and our esteemed panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Peace is a topic I speak about often in Jamaica, particularly with Diana McIntyre Pike and the program she does here in Jamaica representing the IIPT. I am a non-denominational minister, and an author, a poet, and I love to do energy medicine, and I love to help people to find their sacred selves. Peace, peace, peace. What is this elusive peace that we seek? I hope to be able to shed some light on it from my perspective as a woman in the next few minutes. The world has been at war longer than at peace. I have some pictures in this presentation I'd like to share, so I'll do share screen and just click. Can you see now? Can you see
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
presentation? Okay.
Yes, we
So
do.
let's take a moment to reflect. And centrally, what I'd like to speak about is peace as an intrinsic state of the human being. Now, this phrase just conflicts with Ms. Sharma, who spoke just briefly. And good health and wealth to you, Ms. Sharma. I feel that it is intrinsic to the human being. Everything else that comes after that is learned. But what the intrinsic state, if you just imagine a fetus in the process of transformation, it's at peace. It knows nothing of war or discord, unless, of course, the mother transmits that through the umbilical cord. It's something that cannot be given to you. It's not to be found in the world. It is a state of mind. It is a presence, and it's fleeting, right? And sometimes we hope it's eternal when a monk goes up to the mountaintop to find peace. And sometimes they do come back into the world to share that peace, and sometimes they stay there. Let's see what we can do to stay in peace, our intrinsic state, and to find our strength. So we'll take a moment now just to reflect, not even a minute, just a few seconds, on Om Shanti, a mantra. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I am a being of peace. Take a breath. Exhale. Another. As you reflect on that, we remember now that the world has to choose a day of peace to force us to reflect on peace. And that it is because the world is not at peace. If we want to be peaceful, then we have to stop the discord within our very selves, because what is inside is what we transmit to the world. So finding peace now, we must turn within. One of the most phenomenal women I've met here in Jamaica, she is from India, Dadi Janki, leader of the Brahma Kumaris. At one of our one of our conferences in the UK, she said to the group, she said, you're teaching 12 values of living values. We were being educated on the Living Values program, of which I'm a focal point here in Jamaica. She says, but I only deal with 3, peace, love, and happiness. Those are her 3 central values. Truly, if you have that, you can have all the 12 values that they ascribe to forgiveness, cooperation, and all the others, forgiveness. As an ordained minister and priestess, I declare that when you ascribe to peace, you also ascribe to love. Love and peace are twin, they're intrinsic. You cannot have one without the other. The dove and the olive branch has become a symbol of peace throughout the world. And so I ask you to turn within to your sage, to move and live, think and breathe from a position of peace. And this is the way we can impact the world. The Hindu priest Thomas Ashley Farrand, author Shakti Mantras, gives us insight into the serpent-like power that coils within us that is called Shakti, the sacred feminine energy of the universe, the multiverse. The Akasha is within us. It is up to us to find our center of peace. One of the mantras that could be used when one goes into a peaceful meditation is Om Aim Saraswatiye Swaha. Om and salutations to the feminine Saraswati principle. So in the Kemetic sciences, of which I am learning and aligned, the goddess Sekhmet has a lion face, but in fact, she's associated with fire that transforms and brings one back to their center of peace. On Sunday mornings at 11 o'clock, my husband Theo Chambers and myself, founders of Temple of Inner Peace and Nature Retreat, we are outdoors in nature. We come together to reason and to clear space, clear energy. We walk bare feet, we ground. It's also called earthing. We use the sage to clean and clear the environment and purify our space. And then we use the fire, just a big fireplace, to transform energy and also do a fire purification. This is a picture of the space. It's a forested space. And we have a poster of the goddess, the winged goddess Mahat from the Kemetic tradition, Kemet, Egypt. And she ruled during the Old Kingdom, 2613 to 2181 BCE. There are 42 laws that were taught, and chief among them, justice, truth, morality, law, balance, harmony, and cosmic order. To be honest with you, as far as I can see in the literature, Kemet was more at peace during the time that Mahat was the symbol of law, order, and peace. And so we want to find use of this within our societies today, within our world. Some of the words spoken in the 42 laws, I have not uttered fiery word, nor have I stirred up strife. I have not acted guilefully, nor have I acted in insolence. These powerful energies are to be borrowed in order to help us to find peace in our world, in our time, in this new age of Aquarius. I would like to read quickly I have 3 entries on peace in living life as a sacred practice, my book on finding myself as a peaceful being, as a way shower. Okay, we'll stay there. It says, in a world full of change and uncertainty, do not be afraid. Retreat to your temple of inner peace for guidance and vision. Just a moment, please. I'd like to put these glasses on. The world's overt and subtle pressures derail us on the path of enlightenment. Confused, we seek material things for validation, all the while struggling to stay afloat. Stop. Guard against the destructive influences and take charge of your temple. Let us focus on what is best for developing the mind, body, and spirit. If my mind is at peace, I am unmoved by the battering noise. I'm still, unmoved by the vacuous chatter. I am in charge. My choices are mine, deliberate and balanced. How can I go wrong? So I offer the sacred practice with each of these lessons in this book. It says, retreat to your temple of inner peace. Go inward to your inner sanctuary. Focus on your breath. Use breathing exercises to move the breath and allow these words to transport you to higher consciousness. There is quiet there, an ocean of peace there, and tranquility permeates your consciousness. You are one with it. There is no separation. You escape your troubles in mind and body. You are pure energy and vibration. You think thoughts and they manifest in physical form, Shakti energy. You emanate light. You are transformed into your subtle body. You are light, the original source. And finally, imagine this is your coach speaking. So imagine me as your coach. Repeat after me. I no longer blame others or myself for my behavior. I do not choose to blame as an escape or solution to my troubles. I retreat to my temple of inner peace, to my sanctuary, to find the answers. I face temporary situations head on and deal with the issues. This way, the demons that I make up in my mind are dissolved by tackling the real issues. And each lesson offers an affirmation, and it is, I live from my temple of inner peace. So my suggestion to us all is to retreat to that temple often, and as Deepak Chopra also reminds us, to do a 45-minute meditation in the morning and in the evening as well. Now, if we could do that, maybe we'll be as peaceful as he is. But indeed, that's where it's at. Peace can become you, and you can transmit that to the world by staying in your peace, no matter what. Thank you.
Sharon, that was wonderful. And you know, we have so much in common in our belief systems. I really do hope to meet you one day. And to get your book, is that available online or in bookstores?
It's available on Amazon.com. And I sent a text to Reza and sent a copy of the ebook for everyone on this panel today.
Oh, isn't that lovely? I think
Yes.
that's beautiful. You know what? As you were speaking, it just
Thank you
reminded
so
me
much.
of that song, Let There Be Peace on Earth and Let
Let
It
there be peace
be
on
peace
earth.
on and let it begin
Begin with
with
me.
And then let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. I love it. As God is our power, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony.
Perfect harmony.
Let there be peace on earth and let it
Earth,
begin.
and let it begin with me.
And that is
I love it.
beautiful. And now
Thank
our
you so
next
much.
speaker- Thank you, Sharon. I look forward to hearing from you again one day. Our next speaker is going from the me to the we, that's for sure. He's the director of the Center for World Religions, Diplomacy and Conflict Resolution, CRDC, the James H. Lau Professor at the School for Conflict Analysis and Resolution at George Mason University in Arlington, Virginia. And he's pioneered projects with CRDC in Afghanistan, Iran, Syria, Palestine, and Israel. So he's going to have a lot to say. He's trained thousands of people worldwide in peace-building strategies for complex conflicts. He's engaged in back-channel diplomacy with religious, political, and military figures on both sides of conflicts. So let's welcome now Professor Mark Gopin.
Hey, everybody. It's wonderful to see all of you today. And I want to join in this celebration of women in peace building. It's very, very exciting to see the results of steady efforts in the last 20, 30 years to recognize what was missing in terms of global leadership, and particularly global leadership when it comes to avoiding war and creating peace, and that what was missing was the tendency of people, when they think of the word leader, they'll always think of a man, they'll think of men who are very powerful, they'll think of clerics. I come from a world of clerics, I come from a world of very conservative religion that I grew up with, but what we started to realize, and this motivated our research and our practice globally, was that what was missing from so many situations of great violence was the unique power of women to have a critical perspective on how men were fighting and why they were fighting and what was missing from the priorities of everyone. And so it's been an uphill battle sometimes in terms of the organizational world globally to help make sense of this. But when you look at one country after another, you'll see that millions and millions of dollars were wasted trying to create a peace treaty, for example, in the middle of war. And they kept going to the same men who didn't know how to stop fighting. And they never asked the women, well, what would you do in this situation? What would you do if you had the power? And there were places like Liberia, for example, where there were 20 peace treaties that were made and broken with the warlords in Liberia. And it was only when they themselves, because of their impasses, they had already done such damage to the children and to the youth, convincing them to be warriors at the age of 10, making them do terrible, horrible things, that Ellen Johnson and so many other women rose up and became a voice, an alternative voice. And then the warlords themselves gave up and said, we can't do this, and we need the women and the mothers to do this for us. And they literally kidnapped Ellen Johnson at one point and said to her, mother, we can't do this, we need you. And so that impressed me. That story from the 90s impressed me, because then I started to work in many other places, in Afghanistan and others, and everywhere we go, no matter how big or small the project, and I've been working for many, many years with Syrian refugees and survivors. I only am interested in either the women or the men who focus on the unique wisdom of women and the unique wisdom of women to understand the family, to understand children, and to understand what cognitively, rationally, and emotionally needs to be done in situations of terrible conflict. It doesn't mean it's perfect. It doesn't mean that women also don't get trapped in situations where there doesn't seem to be any solution. But one thing is rationally obvious, and that is trying to fix the world with only half the population is silly and suicidal. And that on the alternative, working together with men and women as equals always yields much more imaginative solutions to difficult problems. So for that reason, we are seeing a world where women's voices are more and more at the center of the world, and therefore we're seeing actually a slow and steady decrease in state-to-state violence over time. It's hard in a world of 8 billion. We tend to look at the failures. We tend to look at the places that are terrifying. But the fact is that comparatively speaking to 50 years ago, we're less violent than we used to be. And one of the major reasons for that is listening to the wisdom of women and the leadership of women. So I'm very, very grateful to be part of a subversive process of elevating the voices of wise women. A lot of times the discussions, the other challenge I have is that in men's world of strategic military thinking and policy thinking, there's a heavy kind of obsession with rationalism and pretending that everyone's rational. Whereas in fact, behind closed doors, we all know that people are not rational half the time. And with these policy discussions, there's a suppression of the immediate emotions of situations, of the spiritual realities of a situation, of the relational aspects of what's missing.
Hi, Deb.
And so
Yes.
for all of those reasons, we have slowly and steadily convinced people that you need multiple voices in every room. Those voices do not have to all conform to just and only a rational approach, because there are other cognitive, emotional, and relational aspects that should be addressed in especially in difficult situations of war and conflict. This is what the evidence has shown us. This is what our practice on the ground has shown us. Women are particularly adept in impossible situations of multitasking. Say they have to please 5 different militias in order to get some water from the next village. And a lot of people who are trained in military and sort of rational roles, they just fall apart, a lot of men. And women just persist because they have to get the water home to their kids. And if that means pleasing 5 different militias and 5 different ideological groups, they'll do that in order to get the water back to their kids. And so there's a very interesting way in which the brain is very advanced in survival when you're in these situations where you have to protect family, where you have to take care of family, even in crazy situations. So I think that there's a lot that we can learn from each other. Men and women need each other in order to build a better, more flourishing, peaceful world. And I'm very, very grateful to all of you for all of the wonderful work that you do. Blessings and thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark Gilpin. It's nice to know that this half is appreciated as much as you're saying. That's great. A lot of us are just so puzzled about what we can do to help, especially when we hear about, how things seem so hopeless, say in Afghanistan. What is the single most thing one of us can do to help in that situation?
Well, I do a lot of work on neuroscience of compassion and the neuroscience of compassion and shared reasoning. And my experience is that even on a rigorous strategic and intellectual level, the best thing you can do is build relationships with Afghan people. Listen to their stories, give them emotional encouragement, learn from them, and then see whether the relationships can yield some positive effects on their network of families and maybe even people back home who are still stuck in very bad leadership situation. And I do a lot of secret work. I do a lot of work behind the scenes in some of these various countries. And the most important thing is to keep up the relationships with everyone, to find the people of goodwill that you can help. There are women in a very, very difficult situation in Afghanistan. And the more that we can have solidarity with them through emotional support, through family support, through telling their stories, the more that we can figure out sometimes ways to actually help on the ground. I'm working a lot on reducing ethnic tension within Afghanistan, on creating bridges between different groups, but really every one of us that has good social skills, and we all can make friends. You know, you look past the differences, you look past the differences in clothing and food, and you can find one person who's Afghan, and then maybe a few others. And before you know it, you're playing a role in sustaining a society that has been really battered. And particularly, it takes a kind of compassionate reasoning to understand that women and their bodies are a threat to men on this planet, and particularly some men, and that turns into warfare. Many, many wars are really about women and their bodies, and certainly in Afghanistan and other places. And so it takes a certain extraordinary compassion to know, okay, that's wrong, it's evil, and at the same time, I have to be in solidarity with the people who are trying to overcome that objectification and threat by women against very weak-minded men, or men who are very intimidated by women. And the more we do that in every culture in the world, the more we'll give women tools to overcome those situations. And also we'll find many, many men who are allies in every culture. Very religious men in Afghanistan are fighting for women's rights. People don't know that sometimes very conservative religious men are actually risking their lives for women's rights. So you don't judge a book by its cover, you look for allies, and you build friendships, and I think that would be a very powerful way to help.
Well, thank you very much. I know that's something I'd like to know much more about, and I'm sure many of us here would as well. Thank you so much for those observations. Our next speaker is from Iran. Her name is Dr. Maryam Sadagat. And she is an assistant professor at Kharazmi University in Iran, and she's published articles on tourism and hospitality. She's the manager of Tourism Innovation Center in Yazd, Iran. And let's welcome Dr. Maryam Sadagat.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Happy International Women's Day. And nice to see everyone in this meeting. And I'm happy that I am a part of the meeting speech. Today, I am going to talk about peace, women, and tourism. It seems that tourism from its very beginnings has been defined as a way of promoting peace and mutual understanding. For example, in 1967, the UN had its International Tourism Year, and this one giving the optimistic slogan, tourism passport to peace. Or in 1980, a declaration by the World Tourism Organization highlighted the fact that tourism could contribute to the establishment of a new international economic order. and could be an important force for world peace. So over time, it has become a catchphrase that tourism contribute to peace. The interconnectedness of tourism and the building blocks of peace, such as social justice, human rights, economic equity, sustainable development, and broad-based democracy. With the capability of non-violent conflict resolution, has recently received the necessary attention. Tourism has a vast potential for peacemaking, mainly because of the prominence as a global industry. The major assumption behind the concept of peace tourism is that when people travel frequently all over the world, it helps them get to know new people, cultures, and values. That experience is capable of increasing mutual understanding among people who have been living in diverse cultural backgrounds. Furthermore, such travel also benefits that host countries economically and politically. Therefore, tourism could serve as a form of citizen diplomacy. This human journey toward a collective will of humankind and only begin by first building bridge of understanding between civilization, cultures, and religions. Travel and tourism have a key role to play toward this end. In this regard, there will be some intercultural contact, which is known as a contact theory, and could lead to greater understanding and reduce intercultural tensions. Particularly, there are lots of cases which show the ways in which tourism, conflict, and peace might interrelate in a specific context where conflicting parties were brought together through tourism. In the case of our country, for example, today there are lots of tourism relations, mostly religious and cultural ones, between Iran and Iraq, where they had an experience of war some years ago. So it can be declared that tourism has brought them together. This is another related concept, which is Phoenix tourism. It describes a situation when tourism supports destination recovery from conflict by fostering normalization of social relationship. Phoenix tourism, not as a type of tourism, but as a process, occurs when places that have experienced intense conflict might use tourism to improve social relations in a past conflict situation to eventually arrive at a more normal form of tourism for economic or political development. In such a scenario, memorabilia with intense meaning might evolve to become heritage to be interpreted through tourism. Regarding the case of Iran and Iraq, which now has changed to religious tourism, there are some pieces museum, for example. But it was one side of the coin. On the other side, some believe that instead of speaking of tourism as an instrument for peace, we use the term peace-sensitive tourism. Peace-sensitive tourism, both from the suppliers and from the consumer side, is understood not as a isolated peace strategy, but as a part of a huge and historical social transformation toward a culture of peace. Peace-sensitive tourism is aware of its economic and social power and thus of its social responsibility. It aims to contribute to the democratization of the society concert of international relations and of the world system as such. Also, some argue that tourism is not a generator of peace, but a beneficiary of peace. Tourism is only possible in area where peace is present. It is absent in war zone, much diminished in areas of high conflict and tension, as the tourists generally tend to visit destination only if those places are free from violence. Peace tourism expresses the importance of having positive peace rather than merely eliminating direct violence. To tone down the negative effects and promote tourism as a sustainable industry, there are different main sectors that should be functioning and decorating, coordinating together. One of them is host communities. They should focus on more than quality of service that they deliver to incoming tourists. Iranian, for example, are famous to be hospitable. They are not only hospitable in tourism enterprises, but also in private and in social. This is mostly strange for tourists when they come to Iran, as they were faced to some negative image of Iran before their travel. This spirit of hospitality comes from tradition and religion of Iranian. For example, Iranian believe that a guest is a friend of God. Also, there are lots of verses in Quran which recommend traveling. However, tourism is a sector has generated many job opportunities for both men and women. And as one of the largest service industry of the world, has a high rate of women involvement. Many of the employees of tourism and hospitality are women. About 55% of them. Via the tourism industry, women's status is undergoing a slow and slight positive change, and that women can and should reasonably use tourism to enhance their status, and tourism fills the gender gap by increasing women's income, promoting employment, giving women more leadership positions. For example, about 20-30% of tourism ministers of the different countries around the world are women. And improving women's education, for example, in Iran, more than 60% of tourism and hospitality students are women. Thus, it can be declared that tourism may result in gender equality. Gender equality is one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals proposed the United Nations Sustainable Development Summit, and has long been one of the common goals of all humankind. As a significant global economic and cultural phenomenon, tourism exerts substantial impacts on all aspects of the economy, society, and environment. Tourism could contribute to realizing the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. There is no doubt that gender equality can also benefit from tourism. Women, as a part of society, have the right and the potential to participate in tourism activity. The involvement of women in tourism can also reduce gender inequality in development. Generally, it is clear from this discussion that linking tourism processes to wider development processes, securing structural justice and considering women in tourism activity and decision making makings are key to realizing peace through tourism. And finally, the world needs to remind women that their presence will make the world a more peaceful place, just like art, sports, and tourism. Thank you very much. Hope to see you in Iran soon.
I didn't unmute. Sorry. Thank you, Dr. Sadagat. That sounds like a lot of really good news, a very positive movement. Super.
Thank you.
Now,
Obliged
there
for
are-
long speeches.
Oh, thank you. And we'd love to have you on another webinar. It sounds like you've got a lot of good information to share in more detail.
Thank you.
So there's
Thank
a
you.
lot of items
Sure.
underneath the umbrella. Thank you. A lot of items underneath the umbrella of tourism, and one of them is food. And our next guest, our next speaker, is someone that is passionate about food. She's the founder and president of Crete's Culinary Sanctuaries Educational Network, and the author of Crete, The Roots of the Mediterranean Diet, with dozens of articles about Crete's culture, cuisine, and community-based sustainable tourism. And that's one of the reasons food fits in so well. But we'll have Nikki tell you a little bit more about that. Let's welcome to the platform, Nikki Rose. Hello, Nikki.
Hi, B. Hi, everyone. So good to be here with all of you. I'm going to share my screen and tell you, let's hope this works. Ooh, just a minute, maybe not. Okay.
It's working. Looks good.
Okay. Here we go. All right. I have a school without walls here in Crete called Crete's Culinary Sanctuaries. I built it back in 1997 to support members of our community who are working hard to protect their cultural and culinary heritage. I'll tell you why in a little bit, but we have a huge network of botanists, archaeologists, chefs, organic farmers, seed savers, mountaineers, and many others. And they're all working together to share information with visitors on our culture, nature, and cuisine. So our students are, oops, sorry, hang on. Something's wrong with my, okay. Our students come from all walks of life, and many of them come here to learn about the Mediterranean diet. But they also come here to learn about our culture and nature. And we pull it all together because it's a bigger picture that we're trying to share with our visitors, and not just one part of our just food or just culture, because to me, it's all connected. So for those who need to be familiar, Crete is the southernmost island in all of Greece, and home to the Minoan civilization. The Minoans produced and exported olive oil, wine, textiles, and herbs and herbal tinctures, mind you, herbal medicine, we might say today, to Egypt and other ancient civilizations of the time. And so here's some of the artifacts found at the Minoan Palace of Knossos, which flourished around 2600 BC to about 1150 BC. So this is before the Parthenon was even built. We have the Mediterranean diet, which I mentioned. We'll get into that in a minute. And now we have junk food, which pretty much destroys any of the cultural and natural heritage that the island has enjoyed for over 4,000 years. And we have mass tourism and generic forms of tourism, last numbers I checked, we had like 3 million people here in the season from April to October, maybe more. And we only have 6,500, 65,000, little less than 1 million inhabitants. So it creates a huge pressure on our island with so many tourists in this little space. So the idea that I had to curate this network is to rekindle resident and visitor interest in our culture, nature, and real food. Keeping it simple, right? And responsible travel equals respect, value, benefits. So we work with communities on programs that work for them. We don't come parachuting in and tell them what to do. So what's happening in these mountains here? Well, there's lots of mass tourism on the coastline. And then thankfully some archaeological sites which are prohibited from development, which basically saves part of the island from complete obliteration of mass tourism. I've written about this a lot. What's the Mediterranean diet and who's on it anyway? Lots of stories. I've written a book about this, Crete, the Roots of the Mediterranean Diet, which covers the fun stuff, and then also some issues. And then I've also written for the Destination Stewardship Report, National Geographic, and several other publications, Routledge, etc. You can find those all on my website. So what do our students at this lovely table learn before they get to this situation? We take them to archaeological sites when we can. That this is a dig in progress in Eastern Crete, where the archaeologist is focusing on agricultural practices through the ages, which I think is very important. The students can't see the alignment, but they do after listening to Professor Hodges here, who's standing in the pantry, which they discovered at this archaic period site. So this is all about food. I can spin food anywhere, but this is particularly focused on food and environmental practices through the ages as well. So here's some of the discoveries that you can see these pots, in real time being discovered, and there's seeds inside these pots. There's grains, there's olives, there's olive oil. And so this tells us what they were discovering and what we're still consuming today. We also have archaeologists who are our students, which, makes it a more interactive learning experience. So our students learn about the olive oil practices through the ages. This is a Roman era olive tree here, 2,000 years old, and follow the archaeologist through these processes. And then we go down the line of how agricultural practices, in this case, olive oil has changed, and also monoculture, which is very damaging to our landscape and our environment. I won't get into that today too much. We also learn about the fisheries, and then also the challenges they face with overfishing and industrialized fisheries, and how that's affecting their livelihood and also our food sources. We also learn about our biological diversity and threats to that. Unfortunately, we have, amazing thyme honey. And here's a beekeeper who tells us more. More about botany here with our students, and mountain nature, as lots of people want to do now, including me. And more about botany. This is all wild plants on this screen. That's wild asparagus, wild oregano, wild poppies, wild parsley, me cooking some of it, and then wild leeks on the right. And so the students get sort of hopefully a bigger picture and lots of exercise. And we stay in small villages here if we can. It's, you know, accommodation is always an issue, but we want our students to stay in small villages, or this isn't a very small village, 6,000 people are in this area, but they have impromptu culinary experiences, and you know that's fascinating to them. But you can see the guys at least a taste of cultural immersion, which they would not in with a bunch of other tourists. On to, we have an issue with people. Panayoti is the guy with the sign. Vandana Shiva here from India is here. We're in Athens on a march to awareness of
I think we lost the
We
Nikki.
lost Nikki.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh gosh, you know, this is the fun of internet connections in Crete. Sorry about that. Well, let's see if we can continue on.
Actually, you know what? Actually, Nikki, we have 2 more speakers and we have only 15 minutes. So I think we might just have to move on.
Okay.
Maybe
But-
you can conclude, Nikki, in a minute
Yeah.
or so. Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure. Getting into food and peace, community-based tourism should be aligned with original community-based food systems. As we see around the world, and we've seen throughout time, from the Roman Empire all the way up to today, we see threats to our food systems. And if we support tourism, community-based tourism, which is aligned with community-based farming, then we're supporting the efforts and also peace with food. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikki. And so much of culture can be expressed through food. It's one of the world's favorite ways of getting to understand other cultures, that's for sure. Thank you so much. And I believe all our presentations and contact details will be available on the website on tourismwebinar.com afterwards. So you can always look in for more information on any of these topics. Our next speaker is Dr. Franca Colazzo, and she's a peace ambassador from Italy, an Italian architect, poet, novelist, and freelancer. She's a peace ambassador on behalf of some NGOs from India, Pakistan, and also the UK, and she's passionate about social justice. And we'll let her tell you the rest. Let's welcome Dr. Franca Colazzo.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you to Nikki, Dr. Nikki Lepina. I am also a member of the International Union of Architects. Anyway, I want to speak very, very quickly about a lot of problems of peace. What is peace? The ancient Romans were used to say, if you want peace, prepare war. That's what's happening now. Yes, it means si vis pacem, para bellum. It means exactly, if you want peace, prepare for war. It doesn't mean you go and fight. And what is happening in Europe now, unfortunately, no? We are facing a terrible time, no? With the war in Ukraine, and so a lot of problems also about economics. I wanted to say just a thing very important. I am a poet, above all. I think I feel nature I am also a UN SDG blogger, UN ECOSOC member for women, and so on. But nature is very, very important. Sustainability, the most used word now in the world. But what about women? Because this is the celebration of women. Are women's empowerment. During the post-pandemic crisis, what does it mean? What does it mean? Today we talk a lot, perhaps too much, about equal opportunities, but without it being really taken into serious consideration by men. It looks more like a phased effect because it's trendy than a real leap in quality. In an era so troubled by the post-pandemic and the crisis we have faced and we are facing now, and especially this war, the recent war every year, an unprecedented economic crisis we are facing now. Also, especially in Europe and also in the world, no? For the wheat in the Africa and so on. The problem of women in the world seems to worsen more and more. Education of offspring, female work, empowerment appear increasingly difficult to achieve. What tools can then be put in place to face this emergency? The female problem seems even more emerging in war areas, such as in Syria for more than 10 years, Somalia, Yemen, Iraq, and so on, or where a lack of freedom and free communication, rape, violence against women, and more, added an impoverishment of the female condition that represents a cry of alarm, which must be answered quickly before the situation worsens further with additional damage to the mental health of women themselves. The men's positions does not always manage to understand the complex female universe, to perceive its emotional difficulties, material and spiritual needs, together with the expectation of a better life. People often speak about women's empowerment to ride the growing wave of an uneasiness of enormous proportions with the exclusive intent of recommending themselves as mediators or protagonists. The social media image is one that prevails against a sincere attitude, a willingness to solve ongoing problems. To finish it's a long speech because I have prepared for a conference in Mexico in Spanish. I translated it in English for you, but I don't want to bore you. Trouble with it's a long, long thing. So I want to finish with this. Peace is difficult to achieve. Women, we speak about women, but not seriously, especially in Europe. And I don't want to speak about Italy, where women are a minority. Don't see now that we have a PM who is a woman, no? Giorgia Meloni, she's a woman. But an exception, not truly understood by men, not just a facade, not to let see people, we have a woman who rules and so on. I think education is the first thing. Education and women should be educated better and better in all areas, especially in Africa, where there is a lack of education, and we should enter the crux of the economic crisis that is afflicting us. The crux is the war, especially now in Europe, the very big crux, and the migration. We cannot only build the walls, we can build ideas, not only facade, not social media. I don't read my poem because I've written so much. You can find all things, so you can read when you have time. I don't want to bother you with my bad English, my Italian one.
Well, grazie, Dr. Colosso. And as you mentioned, all of the contact details and websites will be listed on this site afterwards, so we can find out more about your study.
Thank you so much.
We have one final speaker. Professor Marta Lescano is the president of FEPAI Foundation in Argentina, the Board of Global Peace Let's Talk, and Director of Education, Child Rights, and Child Ambassadors. And she's an ambassador of peace for 1,000 Millenniums and PEA Foundation, which is associated with UNESCO. So let's welcome Professor Marta Lescano.
Greetings.
You're welcome.
Hello, everybody. I share.
Great. Yes, I can see it.
Okay. I am going to talk about strategies for the prevention of violence. The strategies for violence prevention, but the question is what types of violence exist. Johan Galtung said 3 violence: direct violence, structural violence, and cultural violence. Direct violence is an event, structural violence is a process, cultural violence is invariant, remaining essentially the same for long periods. So, first, strategies. Good conversation for collective wisdom. This is some pictures about conversations. It is from Argentina. The characteristics are small groups, interacting, listening, and learning. Allow to review beliefs and exchange approach. Dialogue allows to identify prejudice and modify behaviors. Practices tolerance and emotions and conflicts self-management. This is very important. Good conversations. Second strategy is practicing non-violent communication. In this case, our model is Gandhi. Gandhi proposed the concept of ahimsa, but he is ahimsa. Ahimsa is non-violent communication, means complete absence of violence, whether verbal or non-verbal, in our thoughts and ideas. 5 pillars of Gandhi non-violence by Vedavyas Kundu. It is important for values, teachers, and students. 5, respect, understanding, acceptance, appreciation, compassion. Third strategy, promoters of sustainable communities. Sustainable project, there are 5 components. 1, people. 2, our planet. 3, prosperity. 4, peace. 5, alliances. Promoters learn how to develop a community sustainable project. Each project is each community to get a better life quality in their communities. This is example, different communities with different project sustainable. The problem, the water, food, environmental, in communities indigenous in Peru, in Argentina, in Bolivia. Fourth strategy is diversity, interculturality. It's very, very strong. It's very, very interesting. For example, exchange questions among children from different countries about animals, climate, customs, culture. This is example. What is your school like? How do you study? Do you celebrate birthdays? What games do you play? What is your flag like? What do you like to eat? This is example. Children exchange cultural data, animals, food, games, clothing, festivities, and literature. This is an example. Children in Kenya with children in Argentina. This is more examples. Children learn about India, Kenya, Mexico. The important in this case is practices, concrete. This is in indigenous communities. This is in Maryland. This is in the case is young from IT. They studying in Argentina. They studying at university in Argentina. It's very interesting. So, our principles for peace. 1, education for coexistence and peace throughout the world. 2, global communication of good deeds carried out in various regions and countries. 3, project to achieve integration in unity. For example, good conversations in school and social spaces. Promoters of sustainable communities, environmental and social community projects. Exchange of students and teachers between countries interculturally, exchange of ideas, cultures, actions. Social and emotional well-being, conversation and proposals for the well-being of children, families, and educational community. Our work is Global Peace Let's Talk and FEPAIS. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Lascano. I agree so much that a lot of this starts by teaching children. And I hope a lot more of that goes on. I wish your organization great success. That brings our 90-minute webinar to a close. So we can see that there are many ways and many approaches for women to face forward towards peace, and let that process continue. I would like to thank so much the man who's organized all of this, Reza Soltani, who has collected many speakers from his large network of experts and put them together. This has been 3 webinars back to back with women from all over the world. So thank you for your dedication and your work in putting this together. And I'd also I always like to thank Dr. Louis D'Amour, who started Peace Through Tourism in the first place. And he's an outgoing president. The incoming is Ajay Prakash, whose name I've seen here. And of course, Timothy Marshall and Talib Rifai, who have been friends of IIPT since its start. So thank you so much, all of the experts that have contributed so much to this panel. And here's to peace through tourism.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, and happy Women's Day. And thank you, B, for waking up at 5 a.m. Thank you so much. Thank you, Talib Rifai, always being with us. And of course, Mark Copin, a great friend. Thank you so much. Ajay, everybody. Have a nice day. Thank you so much. Tomorrow, everything will be on the website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.